All right, pull back on the road. Well, it is official. I am back. Bad rest, middle of summer. I have literally been home for the last 2 weeks, and I the came off the road because my van needed some maintenance. My front suspension was making horrible sounds, and I had to order some parts and had to wait on the parts because Ford wanted too much for them and had to put new struts in, so that kept me down. And then I went back on the clock this last Sunday, and I said, all right, get me out of here. And I could not get a load out of here to save my life. And I just got a load late Friday, right when rush hour started, and I got to drive the entire the entire area of Houston in rush hour to pick up a little pallet and then go right back through rush hour going the other way. It was a lovely experience. So now I have just left the house and I'm getting back on the road with that load that is due tomorrow in the outskirts of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I am now working my way over here. I got 2 more stop signs and I am on the interstate. I will get back up to speed here. Sorry about the delay. The topic today I want to cover is corruption, something going through my mind. Corruption is a new thing. It's been around since the origins of the universe. And basically, corruption can be defined as a person or entity that has control over another person or entity, and they manipulate it for personal gain, benefit, or it causes somebody else grief. That's the other version. And it comes in many formats, and it's really unfortunate that when you put somebody in charge of something, how they get in there and start manipulating it for their own thing. And accountants do it. You hear about actors and actresses as children making X amount of dollars as child actresses or actors in there, $10 million, and 5 years later, they have no money whatsoever because the accountant or their parents or somebody basically stole all the money or put it in the wrong place. The corruption happens on so many levels, and most people don't really see it. They don't pay attention to it. Here in Houston, they had a really bad case. I'm moving over here. A woman was working at a school system. She worked in the cafeteria for decades, and she was not stealing money. She was literally stealing chicken, which I'm not 100% certain what you do with the dump truck load of chicken, but she stole it for the better part of 30 years. And at the end of when they finally caught on to her, she stole something like $300,000 worth of chicken over 3 decades. I see someone popping in down here. Now. Oh, stole $300,000 worth of chicken, which means she was literally shortchanging little kids in elementary school food, which is absolutely ridiculously horrible to be a person like that. But she did it for 30 years. And then again, I'm talking Houston because I know the area. They used to, downtown, they have little parking toll meters where you put your coins in, dime, nickel, quarters, whatever. And I don't know if they do that anymore. I haven't parked in downtown in 20 years. I don't know what they do now, but at the time, it was just loose change. And they had a guy whose job was to drive around and collect the change out of the machines. And he literally, probably for resale or illegal market, said, she did it for 30 something years, stole chicken from an elementary. That's the thing. It's an elementary school, which is completely ridiculous. But they had a guy that for years and years and years would go around and collect change, and they started noticing the numbers were off. The money wasn't coming in the way it was, but the traffic wasn't going down or anything. So they said, okay, we think someone's stealing money. So they followed this guy. He was an old guy. They followed him for a couple of weeks, and he would collect the change in the bucket, take the change, turn it in, and nothing happened. It was routine. And they go, okay, well, let's change gears here. So then they had to watch the guy that was in the room, and they literally, the buckets of change would go into this room, and they had, oh, hey, how you doing there, Ed? And it was like a Coinstar kind of. You pour your change in, and it sorts it, but it doesn't count it. It just sorts it. Quarters, nickels, dimes, right? Well, it pours the change in, it goes through the machine, and they put it in bags. It looks kind of like sandbags, but they're much smaller because coins are heavy. And they put some cameras in the room to watch this guy. And the machine would sort the coins, and then it had like a little rubber boot, and it would pour the coins into these bags, and he'd pull the string tight and then throw them on this rolling cart, and you could turn them in. Well, they had a camera in there, and the guy would stick his pocket up under the machine on the quarter side and pour quarters into both of his pockets. I mean, who knows, 40, 50 bucks, whatever it was, in both pockets. And then he would walk out to his car. They had cameras in the parking lot. And he'd wander out to his car and get his lunchbox. And of course, while he's picking up the lunchbox, he's going on ahead and emptying the change into a bucket in the trunk of his car, pick up his lunchbox, go in. When he'd leave at the end of the day, they would check his lunchbox. And in that time, he would reload his pockets again. So the guy was probably stealing $300-400 a day from the place. And then when you're putting somebody in a position of confidence and they steal from you or they manipulate the system, especially when you hire somebody and you're giving them the keys to the business, or you give them access to the money, saying, "Look, okay, you work for me, we're on the same team," and they steal from you, and that's just a horrible human being that would do stuff like that. But it's so common, it's ridiculous. And there's also nepotism, which is you are a person in a position of power at a business or an entity, and you're not hiring qualified people to work. You're just hiring friends and family who might be completely unqualified, but it doesn't matter. They're friends and family. And I have seen that happen a few times, especially I worked out in the Gulf. They were bringing people out. They were all related to work on the platforms, and half of them didn't have a clue what they were doing, but they were getting paid. There was in the early 2000s. Again, we're still in Houston. They built a workers' union hall for the area because there's a lot of construction that goes on in Texas, especially around the Houston area. And it was a double because the company they hired to build the union people and getting